In the kingdom of Econ, the clash of steel rings out from a secret training session. Ready to give up, Eric? The princess taunts, but her partner retorts, "Don't be cocky, princess." Their friend Adrian begs them to stop, complaining they've been training for an entire hour now, but their session is suddenly interrupted by a stern attendant, who declares this is a challenge. "I've been searching the whole castle for you," she yells. Furious, they must get ready for tonight. Adrian immediately realizes his princess is in deep trouble for getting caught. The maid scolds Princess Nova, reminding her she's royalty, not a knight, and that her father forbids this. She then turns on a terrified Adrian, blaming him for indulging them. As Nova is dragged away, the maid coldly states, "There won't be a next time," yet the princess still manages a cheerful wave goodbye, leaving her friends behind. Adrian laughs, certain the princess will be back training tomorrow like nothing happened. But Eric is in a cold sweat, thinking, "I must train harder or she'll catch up to me." He confesses to a stunned Adrian that he almost lost their spar, admitting her power is growing at an alarming rate. Adrian simply explains she's been sparring since she was a child, even against her father's will. Eric marvels at her dedication, a rare quality for a princess, and his friend can only agree. A strange look then crosses Eric's face as he recalls just how determined she became, ever since that mysterious incident from their past. The sudden shift in mood leaves Adrian looking confused and deeply concerned. He watches his friend in silence, a hint of suspicion dawning in his eyes. Trying to break the tension, Adrian suggests they head back to the palace, to which Eric gives a hesitant reply. As they walk back, Adrian promises a stricter training plan, earning a quiet thank you from his friend. Later that night, the castle is silent under the starry sky. Inside, Princess Nova is being scolded by her maid, who insists she find a safer pastime than swords. Nova declares she only wants to protect those she cares about, but the maid's teasing about Sir Eric leaves her flustered. Meanwhile, in another wing of the estate, a different kind of tension is brewing. Eric stands alone in his room, looking out the window lost in thought. Suddenly, the princess herself walks right in, calling his name without a second thought. A shocked Eric yells that it's not appropriate for her to just barge into a man's room, but his serious reply, "Now we're adults," instantly shatters her cheerful demeanor. The air grows heavy with unspoken feelings as he quietly turns away from her. "Princess?" Eric asks, caught off guard as she stands close behind him while he's changing his shirt. Leaning against his bare chest, she whispers a question that stops him cold. "Does it still hurt?" He smiles gently, dismissing her concern over the old wound, assuring her it hasn't hurt for a long time. But the princess can't shake the image from her mind, her eyes wide with worry and unspoken guilt. She suddenly grabs his shirt, her voice trembling as she thinks back to that terrible scar. Her memory flashes back to a snowy forest, recalling how it was all her fault when they were attacked by wolves as children. She remembers seeing young Eric's back torn and bloody as he stood between her and the beasts. A horrified little Nova could only cry out in terror, "Eric, your shoulder." But even then, he just smiled through the pain, promising, "Don't worry, princess, I'll protect you." Tears stream down her face as she remembers screaming the words that have haunted her ever since. "I don't want you to protect my if your life is the price." Overwhelmed by her memories, the princess cries out in her mind, "I want to be stronger so I can help him." But she's pulled back to reality by Eric's voice, realizing she was completely lost in thought. Their private moment is suddenly shattered by a smug cough from the doorway, as Adrian asks if he's interrupting. Eric frantically denies anything is going on, but his flustered reaction tells a different story. Unfazed, Adrian calmly delivers his message. "I'm here to inform you that the king is calling for you too." The unexpected summons sends a chill through them, and they anxiously ask if he knows the reason why. Adrian falls silent for a tense moment, his expression unreadable as Eric questions him. Then a sly grin spreads across his face as he suggests the king might be planning a royal marriage. The shocking proposal leaves both the princess and her knight completely stunned, speechless. "She's only 17, Eric panics, but Adrian just laughs it off, telling them they'd better hurry. Princess Nova is left completely flustered, her mind reeling with the impossible thought. "Me and Eric? Really?" Her heart pounds as she shyly glances up from her thoughts. Suddenly, she meets Eric's gaze, and a jolt of realization passes between them. Now walking to face her father, the princess can only hide her blushing face behind her knight. Even Eric seems overwhelmed, silently questioning what the king could possibly be thinking. That night, they are summoned to the grand throne room of the royal palace. Dressed in formal attire, they nervously face the throne as Eric asks why they were called so suddenly. The king's voice booms through the hall, declaring, "Today I've made an important decision." He looks directly at the young knight, offering not just his daughter's hand in marriage, but the entire throne. The shocking proposal hits them like a lightning bolt. leaving them both utterly panicked and speechless. The king smiles, believing his choice will make them both happy as they blush in utter shock. But there's a catch. To be accepted as king, Eric must achieve a glorious deed by catching the legendary black wolf. The weight of this impossible task sends a jolt of alarm through both of them. This is no ordinary beast, but a mythical creature said to grant endless fortune to its captor, and the king's challenge echoes through the hall. Suddenly, the princess finds her voice, asking her father if he's forgotten the tragedy that occurred 10 years ago. "I'm completely against this," she declares, her eyes burning with defiance. She refuses to let Eric risk his life alone, making a bold counteroffer. "I'll agree with it only if I can go with him." Eric turns to her, his expression softening with stunned admiration for her bravery. A quiet determination fills his eyes as he makes a silent vow. Taking her hand gently, he whispers, "Princess, don't worry, I'll be all right." But Eric shocks her, declaring he's happy for the chance to be her husband. Flustered and blushing, the princess can only stammer his name in disbelief. He gently takes her hand, his voice low as he finally confesses, "Nova, I've been in love with you for so long." His gaze is filled with a soft, unwavering affection that leaves no room for doubt. He closes his eyes, a silent moment of vulnerability passing between them. Then, his eyes snap open, his resolve hardening into pure determination. Turning away, he formally accepts the impossible quest, sealing his fate before the throne. Nova can only watch, her heart sinking as she realizes what he's just agreed to. A familiar fear grips her as she whispers, "I don't want you to get hurt again for me." That night, a silent vow echoes from the palace walls as she decides, "I won't allow it." Meanwhile, Adrian watches the palace from afar, his mind clearly troubled. His thoughts drift to one person in particular, his expression grim as he whispers, "Eric." But inside, he's just a glorified errand boy, muttering how he hates being used for his strength. His work is interrupted when a frantic maid reveals Princess Nova has snuck out of her room again. Just as the head maid frets over the princess's disappearance, Adrian nervously admits he knows where she went. He's then given an urgent order to find Sir Eric and send him straight to the royal hall. The maid can't contain her excitement, revealing the secret. The king wants the princess to marry Sir Eric. The news hits Adrian like a physical blow, his face frozen in stunned silence. He forces a polite smile, agreeing to the task while the maid happily rushes off to find the princess. But the moment she's gone, his facade crumbles, replaced by a cold and unforgiving glare. Walking through the palace halls, Adrian wrestles with the impossible news of a common knight marrying into royalty. His thoughts drift to the princess herself, a deep concern etched on his face as he remembers a past promise. He recalls asking about Eric's scar, a wound that no longer hurts but carries a heavy meaning. With grim certainty, he realizes where she must be, declaring, "The princess is here." But as he waits outside the door, he overhears her flustered voice, forcing him to stay back. Suddenly, a hand claps his shoulder as Eric appears, asking what he's doing lurking in the hall. Adrian immediately presses for answers. "Is the meeting with His Majesty over? And what did he say to you?" Eric then reveals the unbelievable proposal. He can marry Nova and become the future king, but on one terrifying condition. The price for the throne is a suicide mission. He must hunt and capture the legendary Black Wolf, leaving Adrian stunned. Yet, Eric beams with pure joy, ignoring the deadly stay-at-her asking, "I can marry Nova. Are you happy for me too?" Adrian confronts Eric, his voice filled with dread. "This condition is too dangerous. Have you forgotten what happened 10 years ago?" But Eric simply places a calming hand on his friend, assuring him, "Don't worry, I'm sure I'll make it." Adrian grabs his arm, his grip desperate as he can only whisper Eric's name in a choked voice. Looking up with unwavering resolve, he begs, "Let me come with you," swearing his loyalty and his very life belong to Eric. He reminds Eric of their shared past, declaring, "If anything happens to you, I'm the only one who can save you like that time." Eric acknowledges the debt with a soft "I know," but is determined to prove he is worthy of ruling the kingdom. His face softens as he confesses his true motivation, to be worthy of standing beside the princess. With a gentle but firm tone, he turns away, pleading, "So please, let me go alone." Eric then offers a compromise. Adrian can help find information so they can design a strategy together, which Adrian accepts. With their plans set, Eric bids his friend goodnight, ready to begin his research at the Royal Library the next morning. Adrian gives his blessing, wishing Eric happiness with the one he loves. With his back turned, Eric walks away, ready to face his dangerous quest alone. A single tear falls as Adrian makes a heartbreaking confession, "Even if that person is not me." Unable to watch any longer, he buries his face in his hands, completely shattered. But elsewhere, Princess Nova rides with a steely resolve, vowing to hunt the Black Wolf herself. She dismounts, promising her horse, "I'll be right back," before heading into the danger alone. Her boots tap against the ground as she confidently enters the forbidden territory. The forest grows darker and more ominous than she remembered, but she presses onward. Suddenly sensing a presence, her hand instinctively flies to the hilt of her sword. Deep within the woods, a beast with piercing blue eyes has already detected her approach. There's someone. Meanwhile, back in the kingdom of Eren, a new crisis is quietly brewing. Eric scours ancient texts, finding almost no information on the legendary Black Wolf. The beast is only ever described as a creature born from a terrible curse. He realizes that actually coming up with a plan to catch it will be incredibly hard. Suddenly, a frantic knock breaks his focus as a maid asks, "Sir Eric, is Princess Nova here?" He hasn't seen her, but the maid reveals Nova was missing from her room this morning. Eric suggests she might be training, though the maid is clearly unconvinced and agitated. But just then, Adrian bursts in with a panicked shout, "Eric, the princess is gone." He confirms that squires saw her leaving the castle on her horse at dawn. A chill runs down their spines. It's not like her to leave alone, and they all know something is terribly wrong. As the maid collapses in tears, Eric grabs her shoulder, promising, "Fear not, Diana, we'll find her." He immediately orders Adrian to alert the king and ready the guards for a full-scale search. Eric reveals he's heading straight for the forest of Eren, certain the princess has gone there alone. He plans to leave a trail, hoping he can find her before the main force even arrives. His face hardens with worry as he wonders what could possibly be going through Nova's mind. Meanwhile, deep within that very forest, Princess Nova has already found a monstrous wolf. As twilight descends, she pushes onward, knowing she must find the Black Wolf before nightfall. Suddenly, a sharp rustle from the shadows stops her dead in her tracks. Her eyes widen in pure terror as she stares at what has emerged from the darkness. A pair of piercing blue eyes locks onto her as a chilling voice echoes, "Why is a lone girl wandering in the forest?" Princess Nova stands frozen, her mind reeling from the impossible revelation that the beast before her can talk. Her shock quickly turns to dread, as she wonders if this is the legendary Black Wolf she came to hunt. The creature's piercing blue eye fixes on her sword, questioning if she was simply wandering here by chance. It remarks on her strange lack of surprise at meeting a wolf that speaks her language. But Nova's fear gives way to fiery resolve as she declares, "I'm here to catch the legendary Black Wolf." The beast seems unimpressed, admitting that while many have tried to kill it, she's the first girl so brave. Or maybe naive would fit you better. It scoffs, showing its complete lack of concern. She refuses to back down, pointing her blade forward and demanding, "Then, is it you?" The Black Wolf. The wolf stops dead in its tracks, its expression startled by her sheer audacity under the rising moon. Finally, the creature lets out a weary sigh, muttering a frustrated, "Good grief." "Listen, girl," the wolf warns, completely unimpressed by her sword. "You better turn on your heels and go home." But as it casually turns to leave, Nova trips and falls while trying to chase it, desperately shouting that she must capture him. She screams for the creature to stop, her hand outstretched in a final, desperate plea. Yet in that moment, her fear is replaced by a cold, unwavering determination burning in her eyes. The wolf simply continues on, intent on finding a place to rest for the night. But suddenly, a strange thumping sound from behind makes it pause in confusion. A cold sweat breaks out on its face as sheer terror dawns on the beast. The thumping is the sound of her own heartbeat, radiating an impossible pressure as she gets back up. "You won't get away from me," she roars, now terrifying the wolf, who can only think that this girl is completely nuts. Panting heavily, she continues her relentless pursuit, her fiery resolve unbroken. The wolf finally corners itself on a high cliff, sighing to the princess below. "Game over, I guess." From across the chasm, the wolf gives a final warning. "If you don't want to get hurt, just go home now." But her resolve is unshaken as she roars back with blade in hand, "I won't give up so easily." To the wolf's utter shock, she makes an impossible leap across the massive gap between them. Her confidence suddenly shatters into pure terror as she realizes her fatal miscalculation mid-air. "I'm not going to make it," she thinks, her hand desperately scraping against the crumbling cliff edge. Yet just as she begins to fall, the wolf whips its head around, alerted by her cry of despair. In a stunning reversal, the beast she was hunting lunges forward and catches her by the cloak. Dangling over the abyss, she can only gulp in stunned silence, saved by her would-be prey. Slowly, she turns her head, her eyes locking onto the creature that just defied all her expectations. The wolf snarls in pure frustration. "Learn to listen, damn it!" But the crumbling cliff edge cracks and splinters under their combined weight. Suddenly, the ground gives way entirely, sending them both screaming into a blinding flash of light below. They land somewhere else entirely, in a hidden, sun-drenched valley lost to the world. Time slips away as the sun sets, and a silent, Full moon rises in the sky. By a quiet shore, Princess Nova finally awakens from the devastating fall. But the beast is gone, and in its place, she finds an unconscious, wounded man. Meanwhile, as a new day dawns, another person has finally reached the forest's edge. Eric arrives on horseback, his voice tight with exhaustion and worry. I'm finally here. With grim determination, he dismounts and begins his desperate search for the princess. At the forest's edge, Eric finds a familiar mount, his voice tight. That's the princess's horse. He desperately asks the abandoned animal where she went, his worry growing with every passing second. The horse's gaze confirms his worst fear. She charged headfirst into the cursed woods. A dark resolve settles over him as the sun begins to set. Gripping his sword, he makes a solemn vow. I have to look for her and bring her home. He steps into the oppressive darkness, leaving marks for Adrian to follow his path. Meanwhile, as night consumes the forest, a full moon rises high in the sky. Far below in a hidden cove, the true cost of Nova's fall becomes terrifyingly clear. The princess slowly regains consciousness, her head resting against the bare chest of an unknown man. She finally sits up, crying out in agony as a splitting headache overwhelms her. Nova is frozen in shock as a calm voice comments, I thought you'd be lighter. She stares up in disbelief at the strange, shirtless man who saved her. His piercing blue eyes hold an unnerving intelligence, a gaze she feels she recognizes. Panicked, she scrambles away from the naked stranger, who dryly remarks on her gratitude. A horrifying thought crosses her mind as the pieces connect. Wait, is he the Black Wolf? Then it hits her, she's seen those unforgettable, predatory eyes before. He smirks, confirming her fears with a casual, it's been a nice fall, huh? As he stands up, her shock turns to pure, blushing horror at the unexpected sight. Oh gosh, cover yourself, she shrieks, hiding her face in embarrassment. But he only grins wider, flashing his sharp teeth. What? Have you never seen one before? A swift kick to the face is his reward for the indecent exposure. In a brilliant flash of light, something impossible happens before her very eyes. He's suddenly clothed, coldly asking, is that better now? What a strange girl you are. He points out her hypocrisy, how she hunted him like a lunatic and dragged him off a cliff. And now you look shocked to see me naked? He scoffs, leaving her utterly speechless. Kneeling to return her boot, he waits as she stammers, so you really are the Black Wolf? A predatory smile crosses his face as he confirms her fears. Yes, nice to meet you. Her face flushed, but her mind reeling from the impossible truth of the man before her. He laughs at her stunned expression, but she fires back, demanding to know who he truly is. The creature she hunted drops a bombshell. My name is Aaron. I'm the prince of the Northern Kingdom. He holds her boot, smugly guessing she's a noble despite her unrefined behavior. Give it back, she screams, but he simply holds it out of reach with a teasing smile. With a blush of defiance, she proudly declares, I am Nova, the kingdom of Aaron's princess. But her composure shatters as she asks how a man turning into a wolf is even possible. His piercing eyes gleam, taking in her utter disbelief. He turns away, coldly repeating her own words back to her. Unbelievable, you say? The truth he finally reveals is far stranger than she imagined. It's the aftermath of a terrible curse. He explains a powerful witch cursed him long ago, leaving Nova speechless at the revelation. The reason for this horrifying fate was simple. He refused the witch's hand in marriage. Then he flips the entire confrontation, asking with a smirk why she wanted to make him hers so badly. Aaron coldly questions why a princess would abandon the safety of her castle walls. But Nova glares back, declaring she refuses to be the kind of princess who lets others risk their lives for her. She confesses she learned the sword to protect those she loves, and that was the true reason for her relentless hunt. Her defiant speech is cut short as she winces, a sharp pain suddenly shooting through her leg. Clutching her bare foot, she realizes the brutal fall left her with a badly sprained ankle. Aaron immediately kneels to inspect the injury, his expression turning serious as he confirms her fears. Let me take care of it, he says gently, his hand beginning to pulse with a mysterious, warm light. Nova can only stare in utter disbelief as the strange energy envelops her foot. He then reveals an even greater secret. His royal bloodline is blessed with ancient powers, a magic used to protect his entire kingdom. He begins to tell the story of a young witch who offered him a powerful kingdom if he would only marry her. But despising her greed, he coldly refused her ambitious proposal. In her rage, the spurned witch then cast a terrible curse upon him. She transformed him into a powerless wolf, a curse only broken by the light of the full moon. A shocked Nova asks how he could possibly rule his kingdom while trapped in such a state. He reveals the grim truth. The witch stole his throne, forcing him into a lonely exile to search for a cure. But his story is cut short as his eyes widen, noticing something completely unexpected. On her ankle, where his healing magic touched her, a mysterious glowing paw print has appeared. Following his shocked gaze, she stammers in confusion. "What do you have there?" Stunned, Nova tries to pass off the glowing mark as just a strange birthmark, but Aaron stares in utter disbelief, repeating her words as if they're impossible. Suddenly, he lunges forward, grabbing her shoulders with a desperate cry. "I finally found you!" Utterly bewildered, she demands to know what he means, completely lost by his sudden change. He reveals a desperate prophecy. Only a knight with a wolf's mark can break his curse, and she possesses that very brand. He had searched for this foretold savior for years, never once imagining they would be a woman. The weight of this revelation crashes down on her as she wonders what she has gotten herself into. But just as their fates intertwine, a voice cuts through the tension as a swordsman appears on the ridge above them. It's Eric, her loyal knight, whose relief at finding her quickly turns to suspicion as he sees the man she's with. Aaron stares down the newcomer with cold suspicion, demanding to know his identity. The knight announces himself as Sir Eric, Princess Nova's personal protector, but then he drops a bombshell that shocks them both, claiming to be her betrothed. Eric points his blade forward, demanding to know who this stranger is and what he wants with the princess. A dangerous glint flashes in Aaron's eyes as the challenge is laid bare. Unfazed, he calmly steps past a stunned Nova, completely ignoring the drawn sword. He takes her hand and delivers a stunning counterblow, declaring himself Aaron, Prince of the Northern Kingdom. Leaning in close, he whispers a private question about her ankle, a secret only the two of them share. A confident smirk spreads across his face as he hears her reply, completely seizing control of the tense standoff. Aaron pulls her into his arms, declaring she will be his queen, and the one to free him from his curse. Nova is left completely speechless, her mind reeling from the sudden, insane proposal. With a predatory grin, he leans closer, asking if she'd like to be the mother of the next heir. She can only stammer in disbelief, utterly overwhelmed by his audacity and raw power. As Eric watches in horror, she shoves him away, screaming, "No way! Get your hands off me!" Her mind flashes back to another arrogant noble, a bitter memory that fuels her fierce resistance. But Eric has seen enough, and his furious roar of "enough" cuts through the tension. He swings his sword forward, dropping a bombshell lie. "Princess Nova and I have been engaged for a long time. Also," he adds defiantly, "she doesn't want to come with you." Just as the confrontation peaks, a familiar voice calls out from the forest. Eric's hope surges, realizing his friend Adrian is close by, having followed his trail. Full of renewed confidence, he commands Aaron, "Now, hands off our princess." He then plays his trump card, warning that their two races are forbidden from mixing together. But the cursed prince merely stares back with cold, unimpressed eyes, utterly unbothered by human laws. With a simple snap of his fingers, a brilliant magic circle suddenly ignites beneath their feet. A blinding wave of power erupts, effortlessly blasting the knight backward. Nova can only look back in sheer terror as she is whisked away from her only hope. "She was destined for me," Aaron proclaims triumphantly, "and I won't let her slip away now." Eric stares in disbelief, demanding, "What on earth are you saying?" His eyes widen in horror as a familiar voice cuts through the magical chaos. "Eric!" Nova screams, her hand outstretched as she's pulled into the blinding light. All he can do is roar her name back in utter desperation. But in an instant, the pillar of light vanishes, leaving him to face an empty forest. He stands defeated, utterly alone in the chilling silence. Suddenly, his friend Adrian arrives with the royal guard, asking if he found the princess. With a heavy heart, Eric delivers the devastating news. She was kidnapped, but his despair hardens into cold resolve as he clenches his fist, vowing, "I will save you." Meanwhile, under the full moon, a dark power stirs within the Northern Kingdom. A mysterious woman sits alone on a desolate throne, her presence commanding the empty hall. Suddenly, the jewel around her neck begins to shine with a sinister purple light. A cruel smile plays on her lips as she touches the glowing artifact, whispering, "Finally." Her eyes narrow with triumphant malice as she reveals her target. "I found you, Prince Aaron." Turning to her shadowy familiars, she commands her two ravens, Phobos and Metis. With a wicked grin, she dispatches them, declaring, "I have a mission for you." At that very moment, far away in the kingdom of Aaron, a magical light glimmers over a secluded lake. Prince Aaron descends from the sky, holding the captive Princess Nova tightly in his arms. Nova's eyes fly open in shock, realizing she's been abducted by the very man who claimed she was his queen. He looks down at the princess in his arms with a triumphant smirk, having successfully stolen her away. "What do you think you're doing?" Nova demands, her face flushed with fury and embarrassment. She struggles violently in his grasp, screaming for him to take her back. but he only warns her that she's going to fall. Ignoring his plea, she shoves him with all her might, desperate to finally break free. But her desperate push sends her stumbling backward over the edge, their eyes meeting in shared, sudden horror. "Princess Nova," he screams in pure panic, reaching out a hand that is already far too late. She hits the cold, dark water with a massive splash, disappearing from his sight in an instant. Pulled under by the weight of her royal attire, she sinks helplessly into the silent, suffocating depths. Her heavy cloak becomes an anchor, dragging her down as she realizes with terror it's too heavy. Her last pocket of air escapes her lips as the crushing darkness threatens to consume her completely. Realizing her reckless mistake, the drowning princess desperately calls out for Eren as she sinks into the abyss. Without a moment's hesitation, the cursed prince dives into the crushing depths, swimming furiously to reach her before it's too late. He finally catches her lifeless form, pulling her close in the silent, cold darkness of the enchanted lake. Her last breath escapes in a stream of bubbles, her life slipping away with every passing second. She's swallowing too much water, he realizes with dawning horror, knowing he has only one option left. He closes the distance between them, preparing to share the very air from his own lungs to save her. In a desperate bid for her life, he presses his lips to hers, breathing life back into the drowning princess. They burst through the surface together, gasping for air as he holds her limp body securely in his arms. "Have you lost your mind?" he yells in a rage born from pure terror, while she can only cough and whisper, "I'm sorry." His fury softens into a complex gaze of relief and concern. The danger finally over, but the tension between them higher than ever. "Let's find a place where we can dry our clothes," Eren suggests, as the exhausted princess can only nod in agreement. But meanwhile, back in the royal castle of Iran, the night is filled with despair. Adrian finds Eric drowning his sorrows, warning him, "You shouldn't drink so much." "But what can I do?" Eric cries out in anguish. She could be anywhere. To make things worse, Adrian reveals the king's health has faltered since learning of her kidnapping. He tries to give Eric hope, promising to send out as many guards as possible tomorrow. Princess Nova is very strong, he insists, vowing they will bring her home safe and sound. But his friend's words only seem to deepen Eric's crushing sense of powerlessness. He looks up with a flicker of resolve, knowing Nova's strength is not the issue. "I'm pathetic," he admits, realizing he must find confidence in himself and others. Eric finally relents, swaying drunkenly as he admits, "You're right," and leans heavily on his friend, confessing how glad he is to have Adrian by his side. Adrian supports his full weight, promising to take the despairing swordsman to bed. But as they move, Eric stumbles, nearly collapsing to the floor. With a sharp exclamation, Adrian catches him just in time, gently laying him down to rest. From the pillow, a grateful Eric thanks him, his eyes soft with trust. Adrian looks down, his own expression unreadable as a storm of emotions crosses his face. Within moments, Eric succumbs to the alcohol and exhaustion, falling into a deep, vulnerable sleep. But instead of leaving, Adrian leans closer, his gaze fixed on his sleeping friend. A strange tension fills the room as he whispers his name, Eric, his hidden feelings finally bubbling to the surface. Even in his drunken slumber, Eric can only whisper Nova's name. Watching over him, Adrian's gaze hardens with a quiet, unshakable resolve. He leans close, gently reassuring his sleeping friend. "Don't worry, Eric." Standing over the bed, he makes a solemn vow to bring the princess back to him, no matter the cost. His loyalty is absolute, for he vowed his very life to Eric the day they first met. His mind flashes back to his childhood, a time when he was an orphan and a prisoner, cast into a dark, colorless world. He believed he had lost everything. But one day, a young noble boy in the market turned and noticed him. The boy's warm smile pierced through his despair, a sight he would never forget. And as a small hand reached out, its kindness shone brighter than the sun, giving him a reason to live. That boy painted my empty world with new colors, his kindness a light in the darkness. He taught me to wield a sword to protect the people we treasure, even when it felt too heavy. And in the library, he helped me open my mind to the world, a patient, teacher, and friend. Through tedious lessons, he pushed me forward, his own passion infectious. I worked hard just to become someone helpful to him, someone he could rely on. But one day, I realized I didn't want to be someone he could just trust. I wanted him to look at me the way he looked at the princess with love, a desperate wish I know will never be granted. But watching him sleep, I make a new vow. The important thing is your happiness. I'll help you any way I can. And so, to keep that promise, I step into the treacherous forest alone. Eren finds the princess waiting, sarcastically noting she was smart not to run away. She admits she'd only get lost, a fact he smugly accepts while preparing a campfire. With a casual gesture, he summons a ball of pure magic, igniting the wood instantly. "Here," he says, "now we can dry our clothes." as if their situation is perfectly normal. Desperate, Nova tries to reason with him, insisting, "I'm not the person you're looking for." But Aaron is certain, cryptically revealing that a mysterious oracle will soon confirm her identity. Then he drops a terrifying bombshell. Using his power has revealed their location to a powerful witch. "Oracle?" she stammers, completely lost in his world of curses and prophecy. He clarifies that the very witch who cursed him can track his magic, meaning an attack is imminent. Furious at the danger he's put her in, she calls him crazy. But he coldly reminds her, "Weren't you the one chasing me? These are your problems, not mine." Nova furiously declares, wanting nothing to do with his cursed fate. But he coldly questions her resolve, asking, "Are you really a princess?" He steps forward, revealing this isn't just about reclaiming a throne for himself. "My people are in danger without me," he roars, the weight of an entire kingdom on his shoulders. Struck by his desperate plea, she finally understands the stakes and whispers, "I'm sorry." He gently places a hand on her shoulder, his voice filled with urgency. "I beg you, Princess Nova, come with me to the oracle," he pleads. "Help me save my own people." She reluctantly agrees, but only on one condition. "If the oracle is wrong, you'll take me back." After pushing him away, a sudden sneeze forces them to face their more immediate problem, their soaked clothes. In a surprising act of care, he drapes his own cloak over her shoulders, saying, "There you go." With a gentle smile, he insists she take his dry cloak to cover herself. He offers her privacy, but she glares back with a chilling threat. "If I catch you peeping, you're a dead wolf." As she disappears behind the rocks, a tense silence falls over the clearing. Alone with her thoughts, his words echo in her mind, forcing her to realize he's right. She admits her own selfishness and vows to change, a new resolve hardening in her eyes. Meanwhile, Aaron waits anxiously, hope burning that this journey will finally break his curse. But just as hope blooms, the sky opens up in a torrential downpour, catching him completely off guard. Completely drenched, the prince can only grit his teeth in frustration at their terrible luck. "I'm wetter than before," he groans, only to be interrupted by a sudden splash from behind. He spins around, stunned into a blushing silence by what he sees before him. Princess Nova emerges in a new dress, furiously screaming at the stunned prince, "Get out of here right now." But Aaron just smirks, a playful glint in his eyes as he compliments her. "Wow, you don't look half bad though, princess." With a resounding thud, she lands a powerful kick, sending him stumbling out of the cave entrance. He desperately tries to explain it's pouring outside, but she refuses to hear any excuses from a creepy pervert. The stormy night eventually gives way to a calm, sunny morning in the forest. Inside the cave, Nova sleeps peacefully, curled up against the warmth of Aaron in his massive wolf form. The morning light stirs him, and he slowly opens his eyes, wondering if it's already dawn. He turns his head, his intelligent gaze falling upon the sleeping princess beside him. But her rest is disturbed as she sleep-talks, murmuring another man's name. "Eric, I'll win this time." The wolf's ears twitch in pure confusion, thinking to himself that this princess is truly strange. Aaron's voice gently wakes Princess Nova, telling her it's time for them to leave. She leaps up in a panic, horrified that she fell asleep in this dire situation, but he calmly reminds her of their deal to break his curse. "Actually, I haven't accepted yet," she retorts, setting a condition. "If the oracle fails, he must take her home." She then cheekily adds she'll claim his capture for glory before secretly freeing him, leaving the wolf utterly confused by her logic. Surprisingly, she admits feeling safer with him in wolf form, though his speaking voice is still unsettling. "At least you don't look like a creepy pervert now," she teases, striking a nerve as he internally seethes at the insult. An awkward silence hangs in the air as the cursed prince processes her incredibly blunt commentary. She then playfully demands, "Aaron, give me your paw," and he begrudgingly plays along, filled with humiliation. Shifting focus, he points out her tattered clothes and missing boot, vowing to find her a new set. Caught off guard by this sudden kindness after all her teasing, she can only stammer a surprised okay. As the wolf dashes off, Nova scoffs, wondering if he can really find clothes in the woods. Her mind flashes back to his grand introduction as Aaron, the Northern Kingdom's prince. But a chilling realization dawns on her. She has never heard of a Northern Kingdom. She then recalls Eric's warning that their races cannot mix, hinting at a dark secret. The memory of Eric's desperate scream for her echoes in her mind, fueling her guilt. Overwhelmed by worry, she whispers his name, her heart aching for those she left behind. Her hand clenches, a flicker of defiance turning into a hardened resolve. She vows to find a way to contact her family and escape, no matter the cost. Meanwhile, Aaron's wolf ears peek over a bush as he spots a clothesline near a small house. "Clean clothes, just what I need," he thinks, having found the perfect solution for the princess. Convinced the coast is clear, Eren scans the area from the bushes, hearing nothing. It's now or never, he thinks, bursting from his hiding spot and dashing toward the clothesline. With a powerful leap, he soars through the air, his target locked. He snatches a garment cleanly from the line in a flash of gray fur. Satisfied, he decides to grab one more item before making his escape. But just then, a young woman emerges from the house, completely oblivious to his presence. "Hey, chili dog, drop it," she suddenly yells, making the cursed prince freeze in place. She angrily confronts him, questioning what he thinks he's doing with her clothes. Her voice sharpens as she clenches her fist, demanding, "Drop it, right now." But her eyes suddenly widen in realization that's no stray dog. And Eren knows this is not good. Caught red-pawed, Eren decides it's better to just run away. The young woman stares in utter disbelief, realizing a wolf is actually stealing her clothes. But her shock quickly boils into fury as she shouts, "I won't let you get away." Giving chase, she screams into the forest. "I don't care if you're a wolf. Don't touch my stuff." The commotion reaches Princess Nova, who calls out, wondering where on earth Eren has gone. Suddenly, the determined villager bursts through the trees, yelling, "Stop, bad wolf," right as the cursed prince is cornered. The chase finally ends, leaving both the prince and his pursuer completely exhausted and out of breath. But then the woman's eyes land on Nova, captivated by the beautiful girl standing alone in the woods. A look of pure awe spreads across her face as she recognizes the princess. She quickly turns to warn the royal stranger, shouting, "Hey, watch out for that wolf thief." Princess Nova is stunned, blurting out, "What?" as the accusation finally sinks in. She whirls on Eren, demanding to know why he would steal, but the cursed prince scoffs that he was only trying to help her. Nova quickly apologizes to the villager, whose barrage of questions about the wolf and her presence leaves the princess overwhelmed. Panicked, she debates revealing her true identity as the Princess of Eren to this complete stranger. Her eyes fall on Eren, who is comically scratching himself, completely useless in this tense situation. Suddenly, the villager has a realization. "You must be a street artist. I've never seen one with a wolf before." Seeing an easy way out, Nova decides to indulge the lie, nervously agreeing that they got lost in the rain. The kind-hearted villager beams, generously offering them a place to stay and fresh clothes. After the villager introduces herself as Yvette, Nova gives her real name. Shocked to learn they're in the kingdom of Eren, she learns they are in Tarsia, ruled by a duke she knows. Realizing this could be her chance to finally contact her father and Eric, Yvette leads Nova to her house near the city, while sinister ravens, the witch's eyes, watch from above. They soon arrive at a humble, thatched roof house nestled against the forest. Inside, Yvette is relieved. "There you are. Thank goodness my clothes fit you right." Now dressed as a commoner, Nova expresses her gratitude just as Yvette offers her a warm meal. Yvette then reveals she's heading to town to sell cheese, casually inviting the disguised princess to join her. Nova eagerly agrees, seeing a chance to meet the Duke, but a dark question about Tarsia lingers in her mind. She realizes Yvette's home is nearly empty, a stark poverty that contradicts everything she knows about her kingdom. "That used to be true," Yvette admits grimly, revealing the Duke now bleeds them dry with taxes under threat of brutal punishment. "What? But that's illegal," Nova cries out, demanding to know why the royal family would allow this tyranny. But the final blow comes when Yvette reveals the order came from the king, leaving Nova vowing to expose the truth. Nova remembers her childhood, when the Duke was a kind visitor to the palace. Yet even back then, she saw a deep, constant sadness in his eyes. Now, the only thing standing in her way is convincing Eren to help her. At that exact moment, the wolf prince sneezes, sensing he's being talked about. Nova finds him, urgently declaring she has something important to discuss. But Eren is completely flustered, stunned by how cute she looks in simple peasant clothes. She worries he's unwell, but he can only stammer a flustered denial. Her teasing about him eating from a bowl like a dog, however, earns a sharp glare. "It's better than hunting and eating raw prey," he retorts, making her freeze in regret. She's suddenly reminded of the harsh reality of his curse, a life lived utterly alone. A wave of empathy washes over her as she realizes the crushing loneliness of his curse. So she suddenly pulls him into a hug, apologizing for not understanding his pain until now. Eren freezes, completely stunned by a warmth he hasn't felt in years, thinking, "She's so warm." But the moment shatters as she declares they must go to the city, a plan he flatly rejects. She calls his bluff, asking for directions to the oracle, forcing him to admit he doesn't actually know. "You told me I have a duty to my people," she argues, turning with fierce determination to help them. He scoffs at her claim, asking why. If she's the princess, nobody seems to recognize her. "Because it's all my fault," she confesses, revealing a childhood mistake that confined her to the castle for a decade. Trapped within the castle walls, her only path to purpose was learning how to fight with a sword. Hearing her painful story, his anger melts away as he gently tells her, "I don't think it was your fault." With a newfound understanding, Nova eagerly asks to go to town, but Eren bluntly calls it another matter. He reflects on their shared isolation, realizing her gilded cage was no different from his cursed existence. Despite his protests, he brings her to the vibrant city of Tarsia, a sight that leaves the sheltered princess utterly speechless. Their new friend Yvette gives Nova a moment to explore on her own, a freedom she has never known. But Eren quickly reminds her of their true purpose, questioning her plan to confront the corrupt Duke. She brazenly declares she'll just walk into his castle, before excitedly deciding to tour the city first. Meanwhile, a mysterious witch watches through her familiar's eyes, deciding to proceed with her own sinister plan. Her dark ravens are dispatched, soaring towards the very castle Nova intends to visit, the seat of Duke Seiren. Inside, an unsuspecting nobleman is disturbed by the strange arrival of crows at his window. A flicker of understanding crosses his face. The message has been received, setting a deadly trap in motion. As the trap is sprung, a hand clenches the curtain in anticipation. "The Duke of Seiren is at your command, Northern Witch," he vows, his terrifying allegiance now perfectly clear. But as Nova's party arrives at the castle, the guards immediately turn them away, stating the Duke receives no uninvited guests. "That's unacceptable," she cries out, but Yvette warns her it's impossible to get inside. Their argument is suddenly cut short by a commanding voice from behind the gates, demanding to know what's happening. It is the Duke of Seiren himself, whose handsome appearance leaves both girls completely stunned. His guards rush to apologize, trying to dismiss the group as mere commoners they were about to send away. But the Duke's eyes go wide in recognition, calling out, "Princess Nova, is that you?" He remarks how much she's grown into a beautiful woman, looking just like her mother. Caught completely off guard, Nova can only offer a formal apology for her unannounced and disruptive arrival. The Duke asks for her purpose, and Nova cuts straight to the point, requesting a private audience. But his eyes land on the wolf beside her, forcing a flustered Nova to claim the cursed prince is just her pet. A tense stare-down between the two is shattered when a woman cries out, begging the princess for forgiveness. It's Charlotte, the villager, now kneeling in terror for speaking so rudely to royalty she didn't recognize. Nova gently raises her, insisting she is the one who must apologize for hiding her identity. With a practiced smile, the Duke invites them for tea, offering to reward Charlotte for her kindness. Nova encourages her new friend to accept, and Charlotte tearfully agrees that the honor is hers. As they walk the castle halls, Nova recalls the Duke was a frequent visitor during her childhood, but once alone, the Duke's pleasant mask vanishes as he asks, "How can I serve you, Northern Witch?" The witch appears in a reflection with a chilling order. "I need you to catch a wolf running around your town." The Duke's reflection confirms the wolf is with a young girl, but he realizes she's too young to be the queen he once knew. "I see she is Princess Nova," he whispers, recognizing the daughter of his long-lost love. The witch is furious, demanding to know why Eren is escorting royalty. With a sinister smirk, she tempts the Duke, asking if he'd like to rule the kingdom with the princess. Under her spell, he's mesmerized by the thought of his own queen. Meanwhile, the Duke's voice welcomes Nova into a private room where they can finally talk. But Eren suddenly collapses, paralyzed by an immense pressure he cannot fight. A voice echoes from the ornate mirror before them. "Finally, we meet again." The witch appears in the reflection, and Eren snarls her name in pure hatred. Northern Witch. Nova realizes this is the very witch who cursed Eren, who can only snarl back, "Shut up." The witch mockingly reminds him she's the only one who can break his curse, forcing him back into his enraged human form. "Oh, dear prince, don't look at me like that," she taunts, completely unfazed by his fury. With a maniacal laugh, she unleashes a devastating blast of magic directly from the mirror. Eren intercepts the attack, screaming for Nova to stay back as she cries his name in terror. But in a shocking move, Nova throws herself in front of him, defiantly shouting, "He's mine!" The spell grazes her arm, and a worried Duke Seiren rushes to her side as she insists it's just a scratch. Enraged, the Duke turns on his ally, declaring he won't help if she dares to harm the princess. The witch merely scoffs at his empty threat, coldly stating she can easily replace him. "What a fool you are," she sneers, revealing just how easily she manipulated the now powerless Duke. The witch reveals her hand, taunting Eren that she's been orchestrating everything from the shadows. "You're the last piece missing," she declares, offering him a throne in her new empire, but he just calls her crazy. She whispers that he will soon become her faithful emperor, her magic already taking hold. As dark magic envelops the prince, a panicked Nova desperately wonders how she can possibly save him. But a voice cuts through her panic. The Duke whispers that the only way to stop the witch is to break the mirror. "I need your help," he pleads, asking her to trust him just this once, even as she hesitates. With no other choice, Nova agrees, and the Duke steps forward to taunt his former ally. He coolly wishes for her utter destruction, a bold threat that finally shatters the witch's arrogant composure. "Now, princess," he screams, giving her the perfect opening to act. Without a moment's hesitation, she lunges forward, shattering the magical mirror with a single, decisive blow. The witch stares in disbelief as her magical mirror shatters into pieces. "You cursed girl," she seethes, vowing to kill Nova with her own hands. Catching her breath, Nova realizes the immediate danger has passed, but only for now. Suddenly, a freed Aaron rushes forward, embracing her tightly out of sheer relief. Flustered, she questions why he hasn't immediately reverted back to his wolf form. He weakly holds her, explaining he believes the effect is only temporary. Just as he speaks, a blue aura envelops him, and the transformation back begins. Meanwhile, Duke Seiren kneels before the princess, begging for forgiveness and blaming the witch's manipulation. But Nova simply tells him to take care of his people first, for they all deserve better. Humbled by her unexpected mercy, the Duke solemnly closes his eyes and agrees. The Duke questions her dangerous journey, but Nova stands firm, confirming her promise to go with Aaron to the Oracle. He realizes this trip could be a blessing in disguise, as the Oracle might reveal the Northern Witch's plans. Nova's hope is renewed by the news that the Oracle knows everything about everyone. But before they depart, she pauses, insisting there's one last thing she must do first. Now armed and in traveling clothes, she formally thanks the Duke for his help. Humbled, he dismisses her gratitude, simply urging her to be careful on the road ahead. The Duke promises to send a letter to the royal castle, explaining everything with his deepest apologies. As he watches her leave, he knows in his heart she is destined to become a great queen. Meanwhile, far away in the kingdom of Aaron, a critical message finally arrives. Adrian bursts through the door, shouting to Eric that a letter has come from Princess Nova herself. Eric's quiet study is shattered by an urgent interruption. "A letter from Nova?" he asks in shock, as Adrian confirms it arrived with a message from the Duke himself. Reading her words, he learns she has willingly chosen to help Prince Aaron, the very man who abducted her. She reveals they are now traveling to the Oracle in Cabra Swamp to find answers about the witch and his curse. Nova's letter concludes with a plea for forgiveness, leaving Eric speechless and trembling. Adrian falls silent, unable to comprehend the princess's shocking decision. "I'll never believe it," he suddenly roars, his mind racing with denial. Crushing the letter in his fist, Eric seethes as Adrian insists. "She was fooled by that guy." "I have to talk to the king," Eric declares, ordering Adrian to prepare the horses for an immediate departure. Adrian is left stunned and confused, questioning why they would race to the city of Tarsia. Arriving at the palace, Eric finds it swarming with nobles and questions the commotion. Suddenly, he freezes, spotting a familiar, imposing figure in the crowd. "Father?" he whispers, only for the chief of the royal guards, Sir Zaman, to acknowledge his presence. His father explains he's there to quell the growing unrest that's been plaguing the kingdom. But the real mystery is that this chaos isn't just local, it's spreading across all kingdoms. Sir Zaman tries to reassure him, mentioning the king received a letter from Duke Seiren confirming Nova is safe. "You are wrong, father," Eric declares, clutching Nova's letter as proof that the official story is a lie. He announces his decision to go to the Duke's estate and retrieve the princess, citing his duty as her guard. His father praises his honorable choice, confident the king will approve, and Eric prepares for immediate departure. With cold determination, he makes a silent vow. "Nova, I'll bring you back, come hell or high water." Princess Nova questions if the oracle is truly here, but Aaron confirms it lies just beyond the ominous Cabra Swamp. She takes small comfort in the fact that they're still close to the town of Tarsia. Suddenly, Aaron apologizes, admitting he never realized the witch's power could threaten all 5 kingdoms. Nova tests their fragile alliance, asking what he'll do if the prophecy declares she isn't the one to break his curse. Without a single moment of hesitation, his eyes blaze as he vows, "I'll help you anyway." She smiles, reminding him their goals are now one and the same, as her own kingdom is also in danger. With newfound resolve, she declares they will join forces to defeat the witch, certain his curse will break as well. Her unwavering loyalty sparks a brilliant flash of light, and the black wolf begins to transform before her very eyes. For a brief, stunning moment, Aaron's human form reappears, a gentle smile of pure gratitude on his face. Then, returning to his wolf form, he bows his head, his voice filled with emotion. "Thank you, princess." Dressed in a formal uniform, Eric urges his friend, Adrian, "Are you ready? We must leave as soon as possible." He promises to explain the urgent details of their secret mission along the way, but Adrian is already waiting with a horse, a bright smile on his face as he declares everything is ready. His gaze is full of devotion as he confirms they can leave whenever Eric gives the word. Eric is surprised, remarking that it's rare to see his friend wearing such a formal uniform. A brief flashback shows a maid named Diana insisting he dress properly to meet a duke. "Not at all. You look very good," Eric says, completely oblivious as he compliments his friend's appearance. Though Adrian feels uncomfortable, he's glad for the praise, his heart aching with unspoken words. As Eric looks on, Adrian can only think of his name, a silent prelude to a shocking confession. Suddenly, he closes the distance, his voice trembling as he finally admits the truth. "I love you, Eric." Stunned by the confession, Eric can barely react as Adrian asks with genuine concern, "Are you okay?" He quickly dismisses him, claiming he's fine and needs to check on his horse, desperate to escape the sudden awkwardness. As Adrian prepares their swords for departure, Eric realizes with a jolt that those shocking words weren't just a dream. Alone with his thoughts, he's plagued by a single question. Does Adrian truly harbor those feelings for him? He tries to refocus on rescuing the princess, just as Adrian returns, handing him his sword for the journey ahead. Putting on a brave face, Eric simply thanks his friend, hoping to pretend that nothing has changed between them. But lost in thought, he suddenly stumbles, and Adrian's sharp cry of "Watch out!" shatters the silence. With a loud clang, Adrian catches him, their limbs tangling in the sudden chaos. Now held in Adrian's arms, Eric can't escape his friend's intense gaze as he whispers, "It seems that your head is elsewhere." Flustered, Eric tries to brush off the intense moment, claiming he's just tired. He quickly kneels to compose himself, insisting he's okay, but his posture screams otherwise. Internally, his heart pounds as he admits to himself, "Damn, nothing is okay." To break the tension, Adrian suddenly asks about a book Eric was reading when he got the princess's letter. He describes it as an old tome with a strange symbol he's never seen before. The book has revealed a brilliant blue cover marked with an ancient, golden insignia. Eric explains it's a holy book detailing the war against the Northern Kingdom, the very place Aaron is from. "I'll explain everything along the way," Eric declares, his focus now fully on their urgent journey. He walks away, vowing to rescue the princess even if it costs him his own life. Near the treacherous Cabra swamp, a long journey continues under a canopy of golden leaves. Princess Nova finally breaks the silence, her voice laced with concern for the path they walk. "Are you sure we are not lost?" she asks. But the stoic wolf simply replies with a firm, "Yes." Her anxiety grows as the sun begins to set, yet he promises, "Don't worry, we'll be there before night." As the forest plunges into darkness, he cryptically explains it's only because they are very close. But then a brilliant light explodes from Aaron's body, as even he seems shocked by the sudden magical surge. Nova is completely blinded by the flash, her mind racing to understand what's happening. When her vision clears, she's confronted not by the wolf, but by the human prince standing before her. A completely naked Aaron leaves the princess utterly speechless and flustered in the middle of the dark forest. Aaron casually announces their arrival, leaving the princess completely speechless at his sudden human form. A piercing scream rips through the silent forest as Nova reacts to the shocking sight. Shielding her eyes, she desperately demands to know why he suddenly transformed back. With a sheepish look, Aaron admits that he simply forgot something crucial about this place. He reveals a shocking truth. They've entered the Cabra swamp, a dead zone where all magic fails. This means even his own immense powers have been completely nullified. Consequently, the curse that bound him to his wolf form is gone, forcing him back to his original body. But just as Nova processes this, a cloaked figure emerges from the shadows. "Prince Aaron, I knew it was you." Aaron's eyes widen in recognition as he greets the stranger. "It's been a while, Nim," deepening the mystery for Nova. Nova's eyes widen as a shocking thought crosses her mind. Could it be that she is? And Aaron confirms her suspicions, addressing the old woman as the oracle they've been searching for. With Aaron now clothed, Nova finally accepts that this is the fabled figure who holds the key to the prophecy. The oracle breaks the tension by showing off her magical light orbs, earning an impressed "wow" from the princess. She then turns her gaze to Nova, observing that the prince has brought a lovely companion this time. Nova formally introduces herself as royalty, but the wise woman casually waves off the stuffy titles. The oracle's gaze sharpens as she acknowledges Nova's royal bloodline, but calls her a peculiar princess, noting she's never seen one carrying a sword. Finally, she cuts to the chase, demanding to know what business she has traveling with the cursed Prince Aaron. Princess Nova explains her purpose, revealing Prince Aaron told her she could break his curse. She adds that she must stop the Northern Witch, prompting the oracle to grimly ask what the witch is doing. Nova admits their brief encounter wasn't much of a meeting, but a newly clothed Aaron interjects with a smirk. "Actually, You tried to catch me, princess. The unexpected memory leaves Nova completely speechless and blushing. The oracle then shamelessly admits she quite enjoyed seeing the prince naked, just moments before. As the awkward tension hangs in the air, Aaron turns his attention back to the princess. Noticing her flustered state, he softly asks if she's okay. Her heart suddenly pounds as she stammers for him to stay back, overwhelmed by a strange new feeling. Aaron breaks the tension with a smug grin. Princess, I know I'm handsome, but she furiously denies it. His playful mood vanishes as he turns to the oracle with a grave expression. He confirms the witch didn't just curse him, she usurped his entire kingdom. But her true ambition is far worse, the total conquest of the 5 lands. The oracle stares in horror, understanding this would be a global disaster. She warns that a war could break out again, a single word that stuns the princess. Nova immediately interrupts, demanding to know what the oracle means by again. Aaron asks if she truly doesn't know about the World War from 200 years ago. The shocking revelation of a forgotten history leaves the princess utterly speechless. Long ago, the world was steeped in magic, home to fantastical beasts, and a race known as the Ephiel. These beings were not mere wizards, though some were called that. A fundamental difference set them apart. Wizards were simply humans who learned to manipulate the magic around them, while the Ephiel were born with immense power flowing through their very veins. This innate magic manifested in their appearance, giving them dark hair, feline eyes, and pointed ears. At first, humans and Ephiel coexisted peacefully, fighting side by side against common threats. But that trust shattered as fear turned to hatred, with humans branding their powerful allies as demons. A long, bloody war ensued until the Ephiel king, weary of the slaughter, made a devastating choice. To save his people, he led them away to found a new kingdom, completely isolated from the rest of the world. This new place was called the Northern Kingdom, Aaron reveals, stunning Nova as he declares, "And I am its prince." Nova is stunned, admitting she had no idea about Aaron's people or their hidden kingdom. Overwhelmed with guilt for her people's ignorance, she can only manage a quiet, "I'm sorry," but Aaron's expression hardens, his eyes turning to ice. In a flash of emotion, she strikes him, the sound echoing through the silent woods. She immediately recoils, shaken by the cold, unforgiving stare he gives her in return. Aaron turns away, his voice low as he mutters an apology, creating even more distance between them. A single, terrifying thought consumes her. Does Aaron hate me now? Just then, the oracle steps in, telling the prince not to blame the princess for her ignorance. "I know," he grits out, his voice filled with ancient pain, "but knowing they erased that memory makes my blood boil." Seeing their exhaustion, Nim offers them sanctuary, a chance to rest from the heavy weight of the past. Princess Nova stands solemnly, her expression filled with concern after their recent conflict. Her thoughts race with desperation. "I need to talk with Aaron, I don't want him to hate me." They finally arrive at the oracle's quiet cottage, a small beacon of light in the dark woods. Inside, Nim offers them a warm soup, a brief moment of peace after the day's heavy revelations. "For today, you refresh and rest," the oracle advises, sensing the exhaustion weighing on them. But with a sly smile, she adds there's just one thing to decide how to share the bed, causing them both to choke. Nim explains with a sigh that she only has one guest room, which contains a single double bed. Aaron smirks, declaring with no hesitation, "No problem, I can sleep with the princess," leaving Nova utterly stunned. He casually reminds her they've slept together before, but she furiously retorts, "But you were in your wolf form." When Nim offers to take the princess instead, Aaron slams the table, roaring, "Absolutely not." Nova questions his possessiveness, but he snaps back, "Are you crazy?" She chides him for being rude to their host, but he dismisses her concern entirely. Aaron's gaze hardens as he challenges the oracle directly. "Nim, don't you think it's time to really show yourself?" The old woman plays dumb, calmly asking, "What are you talking about, Prince?" But Aaron presses on, declaring he's completely changed his mind about her introduction. A confused Nova asks what he means by true form, sensing the sudden tension in the room. Nim's expression finally cracks, nervously warning the prince if he's sure about what he's saying. A brilliant light erupts as Aaron transforms, smirking. "Blame yourself if the princess falls in love with me." Nova is left utterly speechless, her mind blank and filled with nothing but questions. She's completely frozen at the dinner table, unable to process the man now sitting before her. "I'm sorry, I surprised you so much, Princess," a new voice says, as Nova flinches away from the table. The old woman is gone, replaced by a stunning woman with pointed ears who offers to introduce herself again. Bowing gracefully, she reveals her true name is Nim, formally greeting Princess Nova of Aaron. Nim explains that she, like Aaron, belongs to the Ephiel, prompting a blushing Nova to ask if she can shapeshift too. The oracle then reveals her true power, the ability to manipulate space and time, once used to save her people during an ancient war. But this incredible magic came at a cost, trapping her in a timeless void where she hid her identity. Moved by this lonely history, Nova can only whisper how hard it must have been to live alone for so long. Touched by her kindness, Nim leans in close, calling the princess sweet as the air between them grows heavy. But a furious voice suddenly shouts, "Hey!" breaking the moment completely. A jealous Aaron shoves himself between them, yelling at Nim to stop being a fool as Nova is caught in the middle. Nim smirks at the prince's outburst, musing, "Oh, someone's jealous here." But the teasing stops as he reveals the stakes are higher than ever, warning of a new war if Aaron doesn't reclaim his kingdom. The gravity of this revelation leaves both Aaron and Nova completely stunned. Nova then confirms that Aaron sought her out precisely because he believes she can break his curse. With renewed purpose, she promises to do whatever it takes to help stop the impending conflict. Her selfless declaration leaves Aaron speechless, able to only whisper her name with gratitude. Nim agrees that her help is crucial, especially since she is a princess of the Five Lands. Deciding they should rest, he then playfully pokes a flustered Aaron's cheek, shattering the serious mood. Nim then mischievously suggests that he and Prince Aaron should share the guest room together. A panicked Aaron immediately begs to sleep with Nova instead, only for her to yell back that he can sleep with the other man. Aaron panics, insisting he isn't safe with the powerful oracle, but with a snap of his fingers, Nim decides to wrap it up his own way. A sudden cloud of smoke engulfs the prince, leaving Nova completely bewildered by the strange magic. From the smoke emerges not a man, but a tiny, fanged child screaming, "What did you do to me?" Nim smugly explains he transformed Aaron to solve their sleeping issue, sparking the boy's immediate fury. "You're making fun of me," the de-aged prince whimpers, his pride completely shattered. The sheer unexpected cruelty of the act leaves Nova utterly stunned and deeply concerned. Nim simply dismisses the tantrum, coldly stating he'll change back in the morning. As he callously grabs the boy, Nova suddenly shouts, "Wait, he's just a child." Then, in a stunning reversal, she pulls Aaron into her arms and declares, "He will sleep with me." Nova smiles warmly at the tiny prince, thinking, "He's so cute. I've always wanted a younger brother." Aaron, still held in her arms, can only stare up at her with a look of pure, flustered shock. Overwhelmed with affection, she pulls him into a tight hug as Nim smugly declares the problem solved. Meanwhile, in a quiet village near Tarsia, another journey is forced to a halt for the night. "What the hell is this?" a blushing Eric demands, as Adrian looks on with a complicated gaze. His outrage is directed at the room's single, large double bed, clearly meant for two. Adrian calmly explains there were no other rooms available and their horses were too exhausted to continue. But as Eric turns away in frustration, Adrian can't help but wonder why he's so incredibly upset. He tries to diffuse the tension, reminding Eric they'll arrive at the Duke of Seiren's estate tomorrow. The awkward silence only deepens as they prepare to bathe, the unspoken feelings between them hanging heavy in the air. Adrian cheerfully points out the bathtub, suggesting they take a bath to relieve their fatigue. But the innocent offer sends Eric into a blushing panic, leaving Adrian confused by his strange behavior. "I'll prepare the hot water," Adrian offers gently, telling him to make himself comfortable. Eric can only manage a quiet thanks, unable to meet his friend's gaze. Left alone, he's shocked by how nervous this simple situation has made him. He realizes it's because he finally knows the truth about Adrian's feelings for him, but his heart remains steadfast, reminding himself that it belongs only to the princess. This sparks a memory of a young Adrian calling him to see her for the very first time. He was completely stunned by how small and fragile the infant princess was. In that moment, he made a vow to protect her, deciding to dedicate his life to becoming her guard. His entire life has been dedicated to a single vow, to protect her smile. As she grew into a beautiful and powerful woman, his feelings only intensified. He was overjoyed when the king promised her hand, certain that his lifelong devotion would finally be rewarded. But back in the present, as Adrian prepares his bath, a wicked scar across his chest tells a far darker story. This scar, Adrian murmurs, realizing the wound is much deeper than he ever knew. Eric simply smirks, declaring it the proud proof that he protected his princess. But Adrian's face contorts with fury, yelling, "You risked dying because of her naivete, and she's still putting your life in danger. Stop it," Eric commands, his voice cold as he reminds his friend that his very duty is to die for her. Stunned into silence, Adrian can only apologize as Eric turns away, refusing to speak of it any longer. A tense silence fills the room as Adrian zips his lips, his frustration and unspoken feelings boiling just beneath the surface. Adrian is left utterly flustered as Eric casually enjoys his bath, completely oblivious to the tension. He sinks into the water with a relaxed sigh, the argument from before seemingly forgotten. The two friends are locked in an awkward silence, with Adrian standing stiff and speechless. Suddenly, Eric makes a flustered excuse about checking the horses and slams the door shut. But once alone, he leans against the wall, blushing furiously and scolding himself. How could you be so obvious? Back in the room, Adrian is left alone with his thoughts, a shadow of despair crossing his face. He clutches his uniform in turmoil, wondering, damn, how am I supposed to stay calm tonight? Meanwhile, far away in a secluded forest cottage, a very different scene is unfolding. Princess Nova sleeps soundly, wrapped in the arms of the now child-sized Prince Aaron. But as morning light filters in, she begins to stir with a single, groggy thought. So heavy. Princess Nova's eyes flutter open, only to find herself wrapped in the arms of a man who shouldn't exist. Her mind races as she realizes the small child she held is now a fully grown man, sending a jolt of pure panic through her. A piercing scream rips through the quiet morning, much to the amusement of the Oracle Nym, who calmly remarks, I needed some noisy company. Filled with righteous fury, Nova presses a cold, sharp blade against the prince's throat. Aaron, do you have any last words? She asks coldly, but he simply reminds her. Remember? You slept with a sweet, helpless baby, that child was me. He smirks that the child has returned as a perverted prince, but Nova cuts him off, shouting, I don't want to hear your excuses, as she swings. Just then, Nym enters the room with a cheerful smile, completely unfazed by the chaos she clearly orchestrated. Now back in his child form, Aaron furiously complains, Sleep, I nearly died because of your stupid spell, while Nova glares in silent anger. Nym casually suggests he could have slept with her instead, an offer Aaron rejects with absolute horror, declaring he'd rather risk dying. With the morning's drama settled, Nym's expression turns deadly serious, declaring it's time to discuss the Northern Witch and her dangerous plan. Aaron explains the witch's ultimate goal is to conquer the 5 kingdoms, and only by breaking his curse can she be stopped. He reveals the prophecy. A knight with a wolf's mark will break the curse, and all signs point to Princess Nova. The Oracle Nym listens with a knowing expression, simply acknowledging Aaron's conviction that he has found the one. But Nova is filled with doubt. Forcing Aaron to admit this uncertainty is exactly why they sought the Oracle's wisdom. Nym shatters his hope with a terrifying question. What if the princess he's risked everything for isn't the one? What would you do? She asks, forcing Aaron to confront the possibility that his entire quest has been a lie. Meanwhile, deep within a sunlit forest, 2 ominous ravens watch from the trees, serving as someone's eyes. The Northern Witch, frustrated by a powerful barrier protecting the prince, seethes with rage, declaring, I'll come and get you in person. Far away in the city of Tarsia, a sleepless Eric is tormented by his own anxieties about the princess. As Adrian announces their arrival at the Duke's estate, Eric's sharp senses tell him they are not alone. Eric is certain the Duke holds the key, vowing he will find and meet the princess. But this peaceful time was nothing more than the calm before an approaching storm. A storm that would force everyone to face their deepest fears, and a brutal new reality. A reality where a mysterious witch confronts a stranger, asking with a smirk, Are you his son? Everything they know begins to break down, threatening to shatter their entire world. Under the cold moonlight, a foreboding castle stands, shrouded in darkness, for within its walls sits the powerful witch upon her throne, the architect of their doom. She coldly contemplates her next move, her gaze holding the weight of dark ambitions. Yet, a memory of a sunlit field surfaces a fleeting moment of peace before the chaos. And in that clarity, Princess Nova finds her strength, whispering a promise to fight on. Let's go, Aaron. A young half-Ephial girl shares a moment of pure joy with her mother in the sunlit woods. She was the child of a human and an Ephial, a love that forced them into hiding. Her mother crowns her a little princess, but their idyllic life was a fragile secret. Their happiness was absolute, but the narration warns it was just the calm before the storm. Suddenly, a sharp crack echoes through the forest, shattering their peaceful world in an instant. Roa, stay here and don't move for any reason, her mother orders, her gentle voice turning firm. The little girl watches with anxious eyes as her only protector ventures into the unknown danger. But instead of a monster, her mother finds a young boy, crying and alone beneath a tree. Little child, are you hurt? She asks, her kindness cutting through his fear and surprise. With a soft flash of light, she heals his wound instantly, revealing a hidden power that leaves the boy completely stunned. Thank you, Lady Angel, the boy exclaims, his injury completely healed by her mysterious power. But the tender moment is broken when her daughter Roa appears, worried she had been left behind. The boy sees the little half-Ephial girl for the first time, and his cheeks immediately flush red. That innocence shatters when he sees her pointed ears, his face twisting in terror as he screams, You're a demon! The cruel accusation hits Roa like a physical blow, her wide eyes filling with shock and hurt. Consumed by sudden fear, the boy grabs a rock and hurls it at her, shouting, "Demon, begone!" As the child flees, her mother rushes to comfort her terrified daughter, calling out her name in despair. That day became a scar on her soul, the first time a human had ever looked at her with pure, unadulterated fear. Though her mother tried to explain that her father was a gentle Ephiel, a seed of doubt was planted in the child's heart. Just then, a cheerful voice calls out, "I'm home, honey," as her father returns, completely unaware of the day's tragedy. After the tragic incident, Roa's mother approaches her husband, her voice trembling as she says, "We have to talk." His cheerful expression vanishes, replaced by a look of grim understanding as he listens to the day's events. Suddenly, his fear explodes into action, and he shouts, "Hurry! We have to leave as soon as possible." He gravely explains their hidden paradise is lost, whispering, "Darling, we are no longer safe here." When his confused daughter peeks around the corner, he can only look down and apologize for the cruel world they live in. He pulls his family into a tight embrace, vowing, "Don't worry, I'll protect you both," even as their life shatters. With only the clothes on their backs, they flee into the dense forest, leaving everything behind forever. As they walk, Roa holds her mother's hand and asks the heartbreaking question, "Mom, where are we going?" Her mother forces a hopeful smile, promising a new home where Ephiels and humans can live together. To lighten the mood, her father begins to tell the story of how he fell in love at first sight, a bittersweet memory during their desperate escape. As they flee, young Roa looks up with innocent hope, asking Mom, "Dad, then will I be able to make friends?" Her father reassures her with a gentle smile, but his words are cut short as an arrow suddenly pierces his chest. "Darling!" His wife screams in horror, watching him collapse from the surprise attack. She rushes to his side, desperate to help, while a terrified Roa can only watch in shock. But their moment of panic is interrupted as a deadly volley of arrows rains down upon them from the sky. Thinking fast, the mother screams, "Shield!" and conjures a powerful magical barrier just in time to block the lethal barrage. With the arrows deflecting, the dying father gives a final command, "Take Roa, and run away from here." His wife refuses to leave him, but he insists he can hold their pursuers off, pleading for her to get Roa to safety. Heartbroken, the mother grabs her daughter's hand, whispering, "Roa, let's go." But the girl protests. "But Daddy is hurt," promising he'll meet them later. She drags her screaming daughter away, leaving her husband to face their pursuers all alone. With his dying breath, her father's last words were a plea, "Protect Mom," a memory that would haunt her forever. Fleeing through the dense forest, they finally find a moment of peace. Believing they've escaped, her mother tries to reassure her, "I think we'll be safe here." But their relief is shattered as an arrow suddenly whistles past her mother's face. The shot finds its mark, and Roa can only scream, "Mom," as she collapses. Their pursuers finally reveal themselves from the shadows, sneering, "Finally, we caught you." Their cruel intentions are clear. "Let's hurry and kill that dirty demon," one says, while the other leers at her mother. Hearing their hateful words, something inside the young girl snaps. A hidden power erupts from her as she roars back, "You are the demons, not me." Her protective fury explodes in a single, desperate command, "Don't touch my mom." Her mother screams her name, but Roa can only command the men to get lost. In that moment, a massive, untamed power awakens within her, exploding outwards. The backlash renders her unconscious, and her mother can only hold her, desperately crying her name. Drifting through darkness, she hears her parents' loving promise before waking up alone in a strange room. A kind-faced woman greets her, saying, "Finally, you woke up, you'll be safe here." Roa learns she is in the Northern Kingdom, a hidden sanctuary for almost all the Ephiels in the world. The woman introduces herself as Agatha, a friend of her parents who was asked to take care of her. But the girl's mind is on one thing, frantically asking, "Mom, where is my mom?" Agatha regretfully explains that humans cannot enter the Northern Realm. The truth, however, is far more tragic. The arrow was poisoned, and by the time her mother reached safety, it was already too late. Agatha's words echoed in her mind, a somber promise kept at a devastating cost. The memory alone was enough to make her break out in a cold sweat. In the past, Agatha could only hold the grieving child, whispering, "I'm sorry, little Roa," telling her that her mother's last wish was for her to live and be happy. But all the young girl felt was a crushing guilt, hating herself for failing to protect the one she loved. Years passed in the safety of the Northern Realm, and in that time, Roa discovered a power sleeping within her, a terrifying fusion of Ephiel and sorceress blood. She quickly mastered this incredible new magic, but with this power came a profound fear, one she couldn't even confess to Agatha. She was now something else entirely, adrift between two worlds neither human nor ethereal. Roa remembers her deepest wish to find a place in the world, a wish that came true one fateful day. From the forest's edge, she saw Agatha speaking with a mysterious visitor and his royal entourage. Her gaze was immediately drawn to the young man with piercing blue eyes and an undeniable aura of command. She was stunned, realizing, I can feel immense power coming from him. When Agatha called her over, Roa could only apologize for intruding on such important guests, but then she learned his identity, Prince Aaron, a name that would change her destiny forever. In that moment, she found her purpose and a use for the incredible power she held. Together, she believed they could forge a new empire where the Ephel would finally rule. In her mind's eye, they were a perfect king and queen, destined for an eternal reign. But her dream shatters when the present-day Aaron roars, I reject this entirely. Roa desperately pleads with Aaron, insisting her vision is for the good of his people. But the prince has heard enough, roaring that her plan would only endanger his kingdom. His eyes blaze with fury as he delivers a chilling ultimatum. Don't show yourself in front of me again, or I'll kill you. A single tear falls as a strange light glows from her chest, and she calmly whispers, Prince, you can't catch me. She reveals a cruel destiny she has planned, one where he will wander as a beast and learn the true evil of humanity. Her original plan was flawless, until she discovered he was traveling with a human princess, a detail that changed everything. With a sinister smile, she now sees this as an opportunity to finally bring him to her side. She takes a single, resolute step, her new, darker scheme now in motion. Staring out into the night, she makes a chilling promise. Soon, I will come for you, my prince. Meanwhile, at a peaceful cottage in the woods, the targets of her obsession remain completely unaware of the coming storm. The three sit down for a tense meeting, the fate of kingdoms hanging in the balance. The oracle, Nim, finally begins, stating it's time to discuss the true intentions of the Northern Witch. Aaron's expression darkens, the weight of his stolen kingdom heavy on his mind. He reveals the witch's plan isn't just his curse, but the complete conquest of the Five Lands. The only way is to break my curse and take back my kingdom, he declares with fierce desperation. Aaron explains the prophecy points to a knight with a wolf's mark, believing with all his heart it's Princess Nova. Nim listens to his plea with a calm, unnerving stillness, simply saying, I see. Are you sure you have found the right person? She asks, her question cutting through his certainty. She then poses a world-shattering hypothetical. What if Princess Nova isn't the one he's looking for at all? The prince is left completely stunned, his one and only hope suddenly thrown into terrifying doubt. Princess Nova watches Aaron, her heart filled with pity for the prince whose world is collapsing. She knows he was so certain she was the one, a belief that gave him his only hope. The oracle's cruel revelation must have been a soul-crushing shock for him. She remembers the moment he desperately pleaded with her. I beg you, Princess Nova, asking her to come with him, to be the key to not only breaking his curse but saving his entire kingdom. Even from their very first encounter, she had always sensed a deep, lonely sadness in his eyes. Back in the present, Aaron's hand clenches into a fist, his simmering frustration finally boiling over. He whirls on the oracle, his voice cracking as he demands, How can you be so sure it's not her? But Nim calmly reveals the devastating truth. Because I don't feel any special flow coming from her body. The one destined to break his curse, she explains, wields the terrifying protection of an ancient creature. A prince bound by a terrible curse faces a prophecy that has just turned to dust. With cold certainty, the oracle declares, The princess doesn't have it, she can't help you, Prince Aaron. His entire quest is invalidated as he's told he must search all over again for a stranger. Princess Nova is frozen in disbelief, her world cracking apart at the seams. Unable to process the soul-crushing news, Aaron abruptly stands, saying he needs a break. She calls his name, her voice laced with desperation, but he's already walking away. Just as she rises to follow, Nim holds her back, insisting, Prince Aaron needs some time to himself. Nova can only watch him disappear, her expression a portrait of helpless anguish. Her heart aches with a single, silent thought. But I'm so worried. Meanwhile, far away in a bustling city, another chapter of their entwined fate is about to begin. Upon arriving in Tarsia, Eric and Adrian are greeted by the powerful Duke of Seirin himself. The Duke confirms he received a royal letter about their arrival, offering a thin veil of hospitality. But Eric has no time for pleasantries, suddenly stomping forward and grabbing the Duke by his collar. Shut up, he roars, his face contorted with rage. Where is the princess? His companion, Adrian, rushes to intervene, shocked by this blatant disrespect towards a powerful noble. Adrian desperately tries to reason with him, but Eric is completely consumed by his frantic search for Nova. He even turns on his friend, threatening him with accusations of treason for getting in his way. Facing the Duke once more, He screams that he's putting the princess in grave danger and demands to know where she is. But to his shock, the Duke remains eerily calm, simply stating there's no need to worry. He cryptically reveals that the princess is merely doing her duty to protect them all, leaving Eric stunned into silence. Confused and enraged, Eric grabs the Duke by the collar, demanding to know what he means. Adrian quickly steps in, desperately pleading, "Eric, please, let the Duke speak." The Duke calmly states that the princess's letter should have explained her decision. He reveals that Nova has gone to meet the Oracle, intending to stop the Northern Witch and break Aaron's curse. The bombshell revelation leaves Eric and Adrian stunned, barely able to process the words, "Stop the Northern Witch?" "Exactly," the Duke confirms, beginning to unravel a dark history hidden from the world. He explains that after a great war, the ancient Ephils isolated themselves from humanity in the Northern Kingdom. But one of them, a monstrously powerful witch, cursed Prince Aaron and seized his throne. Her desire for power was absolute, as she now plans to conquer all 5 lands, and her method is insidious, puppeteering nobles from the shadows to ignite devastating civil wars. The Duke confesses he too was under the witch's control until Princess Nova helped him break free. "If we don't stop her soon, we'll all be in serious danger," he warns, revealing that rumors have already reached the royal palace. He then turns the question directly to a stunned Eric, forcing him to confront what he already suspects. Some time ago, Eric had walked through a palace crowded with nobles, sensing something was deeply wrong. He'd found his father, who gravely explained he was there to keep the peace amidst growing public unrest. The young knight then realized this strange turmoil was spreading far beyond their borders, infecting other kingdoms as well. Back in the present, his father's ominous warning suddenly clicks into place, corroborating the Duke's story. But his deep-seated hatred for Aaron twists his judgment, planting a seed of terrible doubt. "Forgive me, Duke," he seethes, his mind made up, "but I don't trust your words." Yet, Duke Saren simply listens, his expression unreadable in the face of Eric's furious accusation. Duke Saren understands the young knight's mistrust, offering a path to the truth by revealing the oracle's location. The scene then shifts to a tender memory, where Princess Nova and Aaron stand together, their hands gently clasped. Her face is a canvas of quiet resolve and deep affection as she gazes at the cursed prince. Aaron, in turn, can't suppress a faint blush, his stoic mask cracking for just a moment. Back in the present, Nova is staying at a peaceful cottage nestled deep within the woods. She tries to distract herself with sword practice, the familiar weight of the blade, a small comfort. Though feeling refreshed, the relief is fleeting as a deeper anxiety takes hold. She looks out into the forest, a single thought echoing in her mind. Aaron hasn't returned yet. A terrible worry begins to consume her as she wonders if he's truly all right. But as she moves to find him, Roa steps in her way, pleading, "Don't. Please, Prince Aaron needs some time to himself." Nova's expression is frozen in disbelief as she listens to a mysterious new ally. She finally admits her deepest fear, "But I'm so worried about him." The man's gaze remains steady, calm, and reassuring. "Don't worry, princess," he begins, attempting to soothe her frayed nerves. He then reveals a shocking secret. The Ephiel escape through her kingdom was no coincidence. In a forgotten war, her kingdom of Aaron was the only one that refused to fight his people. He proposes that this ancient alliance could be the key to finally breaking Aaron's curse. Nova is left to ponder the heavy question of whether her father would help them again. But with renewed resolve, she declares she'll do whatever it takes to help Aaron and the Ephils. The man agrees but cautions they must first convince her father, hinting at a plan he'll share when Aaron returns. Lost in thought, Princess Nova firms her resolve. Knowing one thing for certain, she remembers feeling happy, just wanting to be helpful to Aaron. In a memory from the past, she had gone out to practice her swordsmanship in the woods. Suddenly, Aaron had appeared. Surprised to find her there, asking what she was doing. She explained she was practicing, a rare moment of simple peace between them. But sensing his turmoil, she cut through the pleasantries, asking, "More importantly, are you all right?" As she tried to share her own news, he interrupted with a grim declaration. "Princess, I won't give up." Her confusion was instant, a chilling premonition hanging in the air. He then revealed his impossible plan. "I'm handing myself over to the Northern Witch." Her world shattered as he apologized for dragging her into his cursed fate. He turns away, coldly promising to send her back to her castle, effectively ending their journey together. "Stop it, Aaron," she screams, refusing to accept his self-sacrificing plan. She pleads that she doesn't want to hear him talk like this, crying out, "You can't give up yet." Overwhelmed with emotion, she sobs, calling him a stupid wolf as he panics at her tears. Grabbing his hands, she desperately tries to break through his resolve, begging him to listen. Her eyes burn with conviction as she reminds him of their bond, insisting, "You're not alone anymore." She reveals the oracle's words that her status as Princess of Erin means she still holds the power to help him. With one last, desperate plea, she begs him not to say he wants to give up. He listens, his expression unreadable, but a profound sadness fills his eyes. But a chilling memory resurfaces an Ephial emissary's grim warning. The princess can't help you, Prince Aaron. Aaron recalls the heavy burden placed upon him. He had to find a specific person to break his curse. The oracle's words haunted him, filling him with the crushing doubt that this person might not even exist. For what felt like an eternity, he roamed unknown lands in his wolf form, desperately searching for a way home. But a memory of the oracle, Nim, offered a single ray of hope, promising that this fated person would be his salvation. Those words ignited a fierce determination, a belief that he could finally shatter the magical shackles binding him. However, the search was perilous, and soon, dangerous rumors about a strange wolf forced him into the shadows. Hunted by men, he was driven deep into the woods, a lonely fugitive with nowhere to turn. That all changed the day he finally crossed paths with Princess Nova. She was the legendary Princess of Erin, the very person he had been told could save him. And when he saw the unique birthmark on her ankle, he was certain his long, desperate search was finally over. He was so hopeful back then, he even risked revealing his location to the Northern Witch, but her sinister voice always echoed in his mind. I told you, Aaron. He could never escape her grasp, and a cold dread confirmed the witch was right. He couldn't run forever, and he certainly couldn't put innocent people like Princess Nova in danger because of him. His only path forward was to give himself up, surrendering completely to his fate. But just as despair took hold, a desperate voice cried out, No, Aaron, don't give up. It was the princess, her eyes blazing as she declared, You're not alone anymore. Taking his hand, she pleaded with him to keep fighting, insisting she could help him. Her powerful words struck him to the core, a sudden and unexpected ray of light in his darkness. Her smile gave him the strength to keep fighting for his future. Overwhelmed, he suddenly pulls the stunned princess into a desperate embrace. His voice cracks as he whispers, Thank you, Nova. But as she holds him, she realizes with a shock that he's trembling. She gently comforts him, promising that everything will be all right now. Later that night, they take refuge in a quiet cottage hidden deep within the woods. As she soaks in a warm bath, Nova can only think of how kind their host, Nim, has been. A quick flashback reveals the oracle in her true Ephial form had prepared everything for her. Still, her thoughts drift back to Aaron, hoping he's feeling better as she recalls the warmth of his hands. The memory of his hug, a moment of pure, raw vulnerability, replays in her mind. Lost in thought about Aaron's warmth, Nova suddenly panics. What am I thinking? I better get out of here, she thinks, trying to escape her own racing heart. But as she leaves the room, she freezes upon hearing Aaron's voice nearby. Inside, Nim, in his true form, confronts Aaron with a serious contemplation. Do you have feelings towards the princess? He asks, leaving Aaron completely stunned. Eavesdropping, Nova's heart stops, shocked by the impossibly direct question. Nim continues, stating he hopes their closeness is purely for the mission. Aaron scoffs, insisting a princess could never love a tainted prince like himself. But Nim's voice turns cold and serious. Prince, I'm being serious. He then reveals the devastating truth. As Prince of the Ephial, Aaron can never return to her world. Aaron accepts his fate, grimly acknowledging he can never see the princess again. I have no romantic feelings towards the princess, he declares, attempting to sever the bond between them. But listening from the doorway, Nova is thrown into a memory of a time he asked her to be his queen. Nim accepts his denial on the surface, his expression revealing he hopes it's the truth. Overhearing the lie, Nova's heart shatters with rage at his blatant denial. Later that night, an uneasy silence falls over the small cottage. Nim finds the princess, politely asking if she enjoyed her bath as Aaron watches from behind. She forces a bright smile, insisting she really appreciated his hospitality. With practiced grace, she thanks Nim, hiding the emotional turmoil just beneath the surface. Aaron stares, completely confused by her cheerful facade, a question mark hanging over his head. The Ephial emissary insists he's already explained to the prince how vital her help is for him. Aaron realizes with her kingdom's support, he could more easily find the one to break his curse. But he voices his concern, believing this plan could put the princess and her kingdom in serious danger. We can't be afraid forever, the emissary counters, urging they must act before the witch conquers all. Defeated by the harsh truth, Aaron reluctantly agrees, saying only, I understand. He then questions how they could possibly convince the King of Erin to aid their cause. With a confident smile, the emissary reveals their leverage, a treasure he's guarded for centuries. He declares this treasure is none other than the legendary sword of the first King of Erin. Princess Nova's eyes widen in absolute shock at the impossible revelation. "The sacred sword?" she cries, as the emissary confirms her knowledge of the ancient weapon. Nova confirms her knowledge, stating the sword is famous in all the history books of her kingdom. It was the only sword in the 5 lands blessed by the gods, a legendary treasure said to have been lost for generations. But the emissary reveals a hidden truth. The sword was never lost, but gifted to his people, and he is its secret keeper. Overjoyed by the news, Princess Nova eagerly exclaims, "I can't wait to see it." Aaron leans in with a smirk, teasing her weakness for swords and calling her cute, which leaves the princess completely flustered. The emissary immediately cuts in, sharply scolding the prince. "Didn't I just warn you not to flirt?" He then explains the sword is hidden behind powerful magical barriers, offering his room to the prince while he is away for the night. With a quick goodbye, the emissary slams the door, leaving Aaron and Nova alone in an awkward, deafening silence. Nova's mind races with the sudden realization. Aaron and I will be here all alone all night. Trying to shake off her thoughts, she slams her hands on the table, startling the unsuspecting prince. "I'm going to sleep," Nova stammers, abruptly ending the awkward silence between them. But in the darkness of her room, sleep is impossible as her mind races. Her thoughts drift back to the emissary's pointed warning to Aaron about their growing closeness. He reminded the prince that once he reclaimed his throne, he could never return. "You will never be able to see the princess again," the man declared, a grim promise of their separate futures. Aaron had lied, assuring him he held no romantic feelings for her whatsoever. Yet her mind keeps replaying the moment he leaned in close and called her cute. "Why do I keep thinking about him?" she silently screams, completely flustered by the memory. Desperate to clear her head, she gets up to find some fresh air. But as she opens the door, she comes face to face with the very person she was trying to escape. "Why the hell are you half naked?" she demands, her face burning with embarrassment. But Aaron simply stands there, fresh from his bath with a towel slung over his shoulder. He calmly explains he was bathing, as she hides her face, lamenting how often this happens. He then looks at her piercingly, asking why she's still awake at this hour. She admits she couldn't sleep, so he unexpectedly offers to take her for a walk. He knows a place nearby that looks like walking on clouds, asking if she wants to see it. Her eyes instantly light up with pure joy, and her excitement completely catches him off guard. The prince is suddenly overwhelmed, his own face turning red as he covers his mouth. Confused by his reaction, she innocently asks him what's wrong. He quickly turns away, telling her to wear something warm while he gets dressed and waits outside. She eagerly agrees to his offer, telling him she'll be right there. But the moment she's gone, Aaron clutches his pounding heart, overwhelmed by how naive the princess is. His expression turns serious, concluding that her innocence might be for the best. A short time later, they finally meet under the quiet canopy of the moonlit woods. "I'm here," he announces gently, asking if she had to wait long. He tells her not to worry, but before they can go, he stops her. He drapes his own cloak over her, saying, "It's a bit cold at night." Aaron then gives her a soft, reassuring smile, asking if it's warm. The princess is completely speechless, her face flushing at his unexpected care. Finally finding her voice, she clutches the fabric and sincerely thanks him. He offers his hand, asking softly, "Shall we go?" As the princess considers the gentle gesture, to keep her safe in the dark, he insists they hold hands, leaving Nova flustered as she shyly accepts. As they walk through the forest, he reassures her that they're almost at the oracle's house. But suddenly, a strange feeling washes over the princess, an uneasy premonition that something is terribly wrong. The quiet is shattered as Nova leaps in front of Aaron, desperately shouting, "Stop, Eric! This is all a misunderstanding." Her fiancé, Eric, stands before them absolutely livid, yelling, "Princess, what are you doing? It's dangerous." She pleads with him to understand, explaining she has decided to help Aaron defeat the Northern Witch and save the 5 lands. Her words leave Eric utterly speechless, the shocking revelation hitting him with the force of a physical blow. Meanwhile, Aaron stands silently beside the princess, his steely gaze locked on his rival, ready to protect her. But Eric's shock quickly turns to pure, unbridled rage, his teeth clenched as he glares at the man beside his princess. Eric explodes, yelling that she's a princess and this isn't some simple sword training. A wave of disappointment washes over Nova, realizing he sees her the same way as everyone else. But her resolve hardens, declaring she won't stand for it and reminding him, "You, Sir Eric, are my personal royal knight." As the future queen, she announces her duty is to her people and she will seek the king's full support. Adrian watches in stunned silence, witnessing a side of the princess he's never seen before. The tense moment flashes back to a quiet night, when Nova confessed to Aaron she barely knew her own kingdom. She felt lucky just to see the world now, but he could only hear the tragedy in her voice. He understood her loneliness, whispering that she must have felt utterly trapped and lonely. In his eyes, she was like a little bird, locked inside a gilded cage. But she smiled brightly, revealing she was never truly alone because Eric was always there for her. Eren questions the name Eric, and Nova reminds him he's the knight from her kidnapping. She recalls Eric's pompous declaration of being her betrothed, a title he claimed when they first met. But the truth was a dangerous deal. Her father promised her hand if Eric captured the Black Wolf, a risk she couldn't let him take. Eren cuts to the heart of it, asking if she truly likes Eric, and chose this path just to protect him. Flustered, Nova evades the question and pivots, insisting she's the one who needs to apologize. He confesses that in his desperation to break the curse, he foolishly proposed to her the moment he found her. He dismisses her apology, coldly stating that once his mission is complete, he will return to his land, and they will never meet again. Her eyes widen in disbelief as she processes the finality of his words, questioning their permanent separation. He explains their political realities. As a northern prince, he is forbidden from her lands, making any future reunion impossible. The brutal truth strikes her like a physical blow, leaving an agonizing pain in her heart. Stung by his cold declaration, Nova turns away, announcing, "I'm going back." Eren immediately protests, "Wait, princess, it's too dark, I'll go with you." But she flees into the woods, her mind screaming, "Why?" as he calls out her name in vain. Overwhelmed by feelings she can't understand, she suddenly loses her footing and stumbles. His fangs flash in terror as he screams a desperate warning, "Watch out!" Expecting a painful impact, Nova is instead met with a soft glow, realizing it doesn't hurt. She looks down to see Eren beneath her, having thrown himself to the ground to break her fall. The two are frozen in a moment of stunned silence, their faces inches apart, but the intimacy is shattered when Eren desperately yells, "Stop, Eric. This is all a misunderstanding." Suddenly, a furious Eric stands before them, accusing the princess of being with a dangerous man. "Eric, try to understand," she pleads, explaining her solemn vow to help Eren defeat the Northern Witch. But her fiancé can only stare back, his eyes wide with stunned, horrified silence. With Eren standing stoically behind her, Nova holds her ground, her gaze unyielding and resolute. Eric's face twists into a snarl of pure rage, his trust completely shattered. "You're the princess," he roars, insisting this dangerous duty belongs to the royal guard, not her. "I see," she whispers, her heart sinking as she realizes he thinks the same way as everyone else. Her mind flashes back to a quieter, more peaceful night from not so long ago. She had thanked Eren for a beautiful day, her smile radiant and completely genuine. The two had exchanged a simple, warm goodnight, a stark contrast to the present tension. But back in the present, that memory only fuels her frustration as she slams the door shut. Alone in her room, a profound realization washes over Princess Nova as her expression darkens. Her mind flashes back to Eren's intense gaze and his confession. "I feel the same," a moment that made her heart pound uncontrollably. With a soft gasp, she finally understands the true nature of her feelings for the cursed prince. "I like him," she admits, her face flushing as she's left wondering what to do with this impossible truth. Just outside her door, Eren stands alone, wrestling with his own conflicted heart in the quiet hallway. He gently flips the latch on her door, a silent gesture to give them both space for the night. But he can't deny it any longer, finally admitting to himself, "Nim, I think I lied to you." The next morning, a fragile peace hangs over their secluded cottage, hiding the previous night's emotional turmoil. But their tense silence is broken when the Oracle appears, asking pointedly, "Is everything all right with you two?" They both force a smile, utterly drained as Eren lies through his teeth. "Yeah, everything's fine." The Oracle returns, sensing the fragile tension and declaring that something must have happened while he was gone. He presents them with a legendary blade, announcing, "This is the sword I was talking about." Nova and Eren stare in absolute awe, unable to believe they're seeing the real sacred sword. But the moment is shattered when an alarm is raised. "Wait, someone just crossed the barrier and they're heading this way." Meanwhile, deep in an enchanted forest, Eric and Adrian finally close in on their destination. Adrian worries about their pace, hoping they can find the Oracle before nightfall falls on the dangerous woods. He realizes Eric isn't even listening, consumed entirely by his singular focus on finding the princess. Trying to break through, he brings up what Duke Saren said about the Ephils and his own forgotten past. The words spark an impossible question in Eric's mind, as he suddenly wonders, could I be an Ephil too? Adrian freezes in his tracks, completely blindsided as he demands, "What did you just say?" Adrian tries to make him understand. "Think about it, Eric," flashing back to a forgotten memory where he reveals, "If I didn't have these powers, I couldn't have saved your life." Years ago, he had stood watch over a dying Eric, the room shrouded in despair. The young boy was covered in blood, his body racked with agonizing pain. Outside, the adults had lost all hope, whispering, "He may not survive the night." But Adrian made a desperate vow, promising the unconscious boy, "Don't worry, Eric, I can save you." As Eric teetered on the brink of death, clenching his fists in agony, Adrian awakened a hidden power, declaring, "You're my everything, I give you a part of me." But back in the present, Eric violently rejects this truth, shouting, "Stop talking nonsense. You're not an Ephiel." Adrian fires back, his own identity now on the line. "How can you be so sure? My abilities are clear proof." Eric shouts in complete denial, "I'm sure. You can't be one of them." But Adrian presses the devastating possibility, hinting that Eric's own survival is tied to this secret. As Eric scoffs in disbelief, Adrian's expression hardens with resolve. The weight of his hidden identity settles on his face, his gaze turning inward. If it's true, he begins, his voice trembling with the gravity of the question. He finally asks the one thing he fears most in the world, "Would you hate me?" Eric is completely stunned into silence, the vulnerable question leaving him speechless. Adrian confesses that just staying by his side is enough, a heartbreaking admission of his place. But the thought of being hated is unbearable, causing Eric to finally snap. "What are you talking about?" He declares with unshakable conviction, "I could never hate you, you will always be special to me." Flustered, Eric insists his friend is worrying about nothing, but Adrian can't help but smile. With a newfound lightness, Adrian urges them to move on, his heart soaring with relief. But Eric finally understands, a wave of realization washing over him as he watches his friend. "Adrian, you're so stupid," he thinks to himself. "I could never hate you." He then admits that, like the princess, Adrian is one of the most important people in his life. Those words echo in Adrian's mind, a powerful reassurance he desperately needed. Overwhelmed with pure happiness, the weight of his fear finally lifts from his shoulders. But in an instant, a strange, unsettling feeling grips him, shattering the peaceful moment. He quickly asks, "Eric, did you perhaps feel something just now?" Only to be met with utter confusion. Adrian dismisses the strange feeling, wondering if he just imagined the disturbance in the forest. Elsewhere, Nova anxiously asks Aaron if the Northern Witch could have found their supposedly safe haven. Aaron grimly acknowledges the witch's exceptional power, admitting she could easily get in. The terrifying possibility leaves Nova frozen, her eyes wide with pure, unadulterated fear. Staring out the window, they both pray that the Oracle is safe from whatever danger is approaching. But just then, the Oracle herself rushes toward them, her face etched with panic and terrible news. "It can't be," Nova whispers in shock, as a vision of the one man she never expected appears. Her composure shatters as she cries out in denial, "But he's Eric!" Her outburst startles Aaron, who turns to her with a sharp, confused expression, demanding, "What did you say?" Meanwhile, back in the forest, the Oracle greets two knights searching for the princess. Eric introduces himself, explaining Duke Saren sent him to find her. The scene cuts as a desperate voice screams his name, "Eric!" He bursts through the door, calling out in shock, "Princess?" Nova stares back, overwhelmed with disbelief as she asks if it's really him. But as she runs past, a stunned Aaron can only watch her go. "I finally found you," Eric cries, pulling her into a desperate embrace as Aaron freezes. He asks if she's all right, revealing Duke Saren exposed her location after he received her letter. The Oracle's voice echoes, confirming to Aaron that the princess's royal knight has arrived. Enraged, Eric lunges forward, screaming, "How dare you take our princess!" He draws his sword, condemning the prince of the Ephiel and vowing he'll never be forgiven. But Aaron simply stands his ground, the sacred sword held ready as he meets the knight's fury with cold silence. Suddenly, Nova leaps between them, desperately pleading, "Stop, Eric, this is all a misunderstanding." Eric freezes in disbelief, horrified that she would shield the very man he came to slay. She explains her choice, revealing she decided to help Prince Aaron defeat the Northern Witch. Her impossible confession leaves the royal knight utterly stunned and speechless. Yet she stands defiantly by Aaron's side, a clear declaration that they are now allies. But as he processes this betrayal, the knight's shock quickly twists into a chilling, hateful sneer. "You're the princess," Eric shouts, insisting that facing danger is the duty of the royal guard, not hers. Nova's expression hardens as she realizes he thinks the same way as everyone else. "I won't stand for it," she proclaims, reminding him of his place as her personal knight. She declares her duty as future queen and vows to return to the palace for the king's full support. Adrian watches in utter disbelief, realizing this is the first time he's ever seen her like this. He processes the unprecedented moment the princess finally asserts her authority over Eric. Her words leave the knight completely silenced, his head bowed in defeat, but his hand tightens on his sword, betraying the rage simmering beneath his submission. "I'll follow your order, princess," he finally concedes, his will completely broken. I'm sorry, Eric, Nova pleads, hoping he can finally understand her resolve. Eren is completely mesmerized, realizing she now carries the presence of a true queen. He formally apologizes for taking the princess and begins to make a promise. But Eric and Adrian listen with cold, unyielding expressions, their trust clearly not won. I will protect the princess from any danger, Eren vows with unshakable conviction. Nova's eyes widen in surprise before a gentle smile graces her lips. This declaration, however, sends a shockwave of pure rage through her royal knight. Prince, you forgot, Eric snarls, stepping forward. I'm the one who has the responsibility to protect her, not you. The two rivals lock eyes, their animosity igniting the very air between them. Just as the rivals' hatred is about to explode, a frail cough cuts through the tension. The old woman steps between them, declaring now is not the time to argue. With the situation under control, she cryptically announces it's time to return to her true appearance. A blinding flash of light erupts, forcing Eric and Adrian to shield their eyes in pure shock. When the light fades, the Oracle is revealed in his true Ephiel form, a confident smirk on his face. The Oracle is an Ephiel too? Eric shouts, his entire worldview shattering in an instant. The Oracle explains this land is a secret refuge where his people escaped, thanks to the kingdom's aid. But his gaze then locks onto Adrian, demanding to know his name with unnerving intensity. He leans in, his eyes glowing as he drops a bombshell accusation. Adrian, you are also not human, right? Eren can only watch in stunned silence as the accusation hangs in the air. Princess Nova immediately turns to the Oracle, confused by his cryptic words. Adrian isn't human? She wonders, noticing Eric seems more worried than surprised. But Adrian embraces the revelation, declaring, can you see it? Then, I'm also an Ephiel. The Oracle presses him further, asking if he truly doesn't know what he is. Adrian confesses that his childhood is a complete mystery, with almost no memories. The only thing he can clearly recall is the day he met Eric. Before that, it's all a blur. But suddenly, Nova's voice cuts through the tension, shouting, wait a moment! Her gaze lands squarely on Eric, her voice laced with suspicion as she demands, were you aware of this? Eric flinches as Nova confirms her worst fear. Then, you knew. She presses him, her voice trembling with betrayal, asking if he hid the truth because he thought she was too naive. No, it's not that, he desperately cries, his explanation failing him. But before the argument can escalate, a calming hand rests on his shoulder. Adrian steps in, telling a frantic Eric, don't worry, I'll tell the princess. The two friends share a silent glance, as Adrian takes control of the impossible situation. Turning to Nova, he explains that Eric's silence was only because he himself was too scared to speak. He confesses his deep-seated fear of being seen as a monster and losing the only happiness he's ever known. But now, with a new fire in his eyes, he declares he is finally ready to tell her everything.